When Princess Diana tragically passed away in 1997, the world mourned the loss of the people's princess. Flowers covered the gates of Kensington Palace. Millions wept openly, and tributes poured in from every corner of the globe. But while the public grieved, a deeply personal document remained sealed, her final will. For months, speculation swirled. Who would inherit her fortune? Would royal tradition decide the outcome? Would certain treasures remain locked inside palace walls? Many assumed her estate would be divided among institutions, charities, or controlled under strict royal protocol. After all, Diana wasn't just a mother, she was one of the most famous women in the world. But when the details of her will were finally revealed, the truth stunned many. There weren't multiple powerful names listed. There weren't endless royal beneficiaries. Instead, her final wishes reflected something far more personal, something deeply emotional. Only one name truly mattered: that it wasn't about titles. It wasn't about status. And it certainly wasn't about royal expectations. It was about trust, love, and the one person she believed would carry her heart, her values, and her legacy forward. The revelation changed how many people saw Diana's final act. Because, in the end, the princess who broke royal rules one after another made one last decision that proved exactly who she was at her core. What she left behind wasn't just wealth, it was a message. And when the will was opened, that message became crystal clear. When the final will of Princess Diana was prepared, it wasn't written in the grandeur of royal ceremony. It was drafted quietly, thoughtfully, and with careful intention. Diana understood better than anyone how unpredictable life could be. Having lived through intense public scrutiny, personal heartbreak, and the pressures of royal duty, she knew the importance of putting her affairs in order, not as a princess, but as a mother. By the time she formally structured her will in the mid-1990s, Diana had already stepped away from many royal traditions, following her divorce from Charles III. Then Prince Charles. She was redefining her identity, no longer bound in the same way by palace expectations. This period of her life was marked by independence and clarity. She was determined that her legacy would reflect her values, not rigid royal custom. At the heart of every decision she made were her two sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. Diana's greatest fear was not losing status or wealth. It was the thought of her boys growing up without emotional security. She had experienced loneliness within the royal system, and she did not want that for them. Her will was designed to protect them, guide them, and remind them, even in her absence, that they were her greatest priority. While rumors would later swirl that only one name was written, the emotional truth behind that phrase becomes clearer when examining her intentions. Diana structured her estate primarily for her children, ensuring that nearly everything she owned, from financial assets to personal belongings, would ultimately belong to them. But because they were still young at the time of her passing, the estate was placed into trust. This meant her wishes would be carefully managed until they reached adulthood. Her estate was estimated at approximately £21 million before taxes, a significant sum at the time. After expenses and inheritance taxes, the amount was reduced, but what remained was still substantial. However, the monetary value was never the most meaningful part. Diana's jewelry collection, personal letters, iconic dresses, and cherished keepsakes carried far deeper emotional weight. These were not simply royal artifacts. They were pieces of her personal story. She also made provisions for her godchildren and close family members, but the overwhelming focus of her will centered on her sons. That's where the phrase "only one name" gains emotional significance. In essence, everything she had built, protected, and preserved was meant to flow toward one place: her children's future. Her legacy wasn't scattered across institutions. It wasn't locked away for ceremonial display. It was directed toward the continuation of her love through William and Harry. Diana also appointed trusted executors to oversee her estate, including her mother, Frances Shand Kidd, and her sister, Lady Sarah McCorquodale. She chose people who understood her heart, not just royal procedure. This was intentional. She wanted those closest to her, people who knew her as Diana, not just as a princess, to safeguard her final wishes. When tragedy struck in August 1997, the world was unprepared. The suddenness of her passing, at just 36 years old, shocked millions. But behind the grief and global mourning, her carefully written will stood ready, a quiet testament to her foresight. In the end, Princess Diana's final will wasn't dramatic in structure. It was powerful in simplicity. It reflected a woman who had been misunderstood, criticized, and idolized, but who, above all else, was a devoted mother. And as the document was eventually opened and its contents understood, it became clear that her final act was not about royalty at all. It was about love, concentrated, focused, and written with unmistakable clarity. The years following Princess Diana's passing were a mix of public fascination and private adjustment for her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. While the world mourned and analyzed every detail of Diana's life, the young princes were quietly coming to terms with the reality of growing up without their mother. Her final will, carefully structured and executed, became a stabilizing force, ensuring that even in her absence, her influence remained present. Diana's focus on her children was evident in the way the estate was organized. Nearly everything she owned, financial assets, personal items, and treasured keepsakes, was directed toward their care. Trusts were established to protect the assets until William and Harry were ready to handle them responsibly. This structure ensured that they could grow into adulthood without the pressures or temptations that sudden access to wealth might bring. It was a practical solution, but it also carried profound emotional weight. Each decision reflected Diana's understanding of her sons' needs, her foresight, and her desire to leave them not only secure, but guided by her values. Her jewelry collection, for instance, held more than monetary value. Iconic pieces, such as the sapphire engagement ring that would later be given to Catherine, Princess of Wales, were imbued with memory and meaning. These items were tangible reminders of Diana's presence, connecting her sons to the warmth, love, and guidance that they would otherwise miss. Beyond luxury, these possessions served as anchors, symbols of a mother's enduring influence. Education and personal development were also priorities within the framework of the will. Funds from the trust were used to support schooling, extracurricular activities, and future endeavors, allowing the princes to pursue opportunities without financial worry. Diana's careful planning ensured that her sons had the tools they needed to succeed, while keeping the essence of her guidance intact. Over time, the emotional significance of her legacy became clear. William and Harry grew not just as heirs to the throne, but as individuals shaped by the lessons their mother had imparted indirectly. Diana's focus on compassion, empathy, and responsibility influenced their decisions, their public work, and their approach to personal relationships. Her guidance, though silent, became a foundation for the men they were becoming. The will also reflected Diana's foresight in preserving her story. By ensuring her estate remained in the hands of those who understood her personal values, her family and her sons, she maintained control over her narrative. The careful selection of executors and trustees meant that her possessions and wealth would be managed with respect, protecting the legacy she had fought to define throughout her life. Public fascination with the only one name aspect of her will persisted for years. Media outlets speculated endlessly about the significance, debating whether Diana's decision broke with royal tradition or revealed deeper personal priorities. Yet for William and Harry, the message was simple. Everything she left behind was for them, a concentrated gift of love and foresight designed to guide them through life. Even as adults, the princes carry the impact of Diana's planning in tangible ways. The trust, the possessions, and the values embedded in her estate continue to influence their lives, shaping decisions, relationships, and the causes they champion. Her presence remains felt in quiet moments, not through words or appearances, but through the structure she created, the legacy she entrusted to them, and the emotional foundation she left intact. In the end, Diana's will was more than a legal document. It was a map of love, a protective framework, and a lasting connection to her sons. While the world focused on headlines and speculation, the heart of her decision remained private, powerful, and profoundly personal. It ensured that, even in death, Princess Diana's influence would guide William and Harry for the rest of their lives. Beyond the financial aspects of Princess Diana's estate, the personal belongings she left behind held immense emotional significance for her sons. While the world often fixates on wealth and royal assets, for William and Harry, the real treasures were the intimate reminders of their mother, items that carried her personality, her warmth, and her love. Each piece told a story, serving as a tangible connection to the woman they lost far too soon. One of the most iconic pieces was Diana's jewelry. The sapphire engagement ring, now famously worn by Catherine, Princess of Wales, is more than just a beautiful piece of jewelry. For William, it represented a continuity of love, a symbolic passing of his mother's blessing. Similarly, other necklaces, bracelets, and earrings weren't simply adornments. They were memories made visible, reminders of holidays, family moments, and lessons in grace and compassion that Diana had shared with her children. Diana's wardrobe also carried sentimental value. Her dresses, often displayed in private settings for the boys, served as visual stories of their mother's life, her tastes, and her individuality. Through these garments, William and Harry could recall moments they shared, occasions that shaped their childhood, and glimpses of a mother who, despite her global fame, was deeply personal in her love for them. These items became a source of comfort, helping them feel connected to her even as they navigated adolescence. Under the harsh glare of public attention, the emotional impact extended beyond material possessions. Handwritten letters, personal notes, and keepsakes allowed her sons to hear her voice and guidance in moments of uncertainty. For Harry, reading her words as a young teenager provided reassurance and emotional grounding during a time when the loss of a parent could have been destabilizing. Diana's foresight ensured that her presence would endure not just through instruction, but through these intimate, meaningful tokens. Her estate also included financial security designed to give them freedom to pursue their paths. While money alone couldn't replace her, it allowed the princes to make choices independently, from education to charitable work. While still feeling her support, Diana understood that stability was essential, not just for survival, but for growth, enabling her sons to mature into compassionate, socially aware men who honor her legacy through action. Perhaps most importantly, the way her will was executed reflected Diana's understanding of the pressures her children would face. By placing the estate into trust, she protected them from the sudden exposure and scrutiny that could have come with early access. Every detail, from financial planning to the careful preservation of personal items, was designed with love and foresight, showing a level of maternal care that extended far beyond her lifetime. Public fascination with Diana's choices continues because of the combination of secrecy and intent. While the world speculated about royal inheritance, William and Harry experienced the reality firsthand, a mother who thought not just about wealth, but about how to nurture, guide, and protect them even in her absence. The phrase "only one name" becomes profoundly meaningful when seen through this lens. Diana wasn't excluding others out of spite or rebellion. She was concentrating her care, influence, and legacy where it mattered most, on her sons. In reflecting on her inheritance, it's clear that Diana's most enduring gifts were emotional. Her estate served as a bridge between past and present, between memory and lived experience, allowing her sons to carry forward not just material wealth but the lessons, love, and guidance that shaped their formative years. Through careful planning, she ensured that her presence remained an ongoing part of their lives, a silent but powerful influence guiding their decisions, values, and actions. As Prince William and Prince Harry grew older, the impact of their mother's carefully planned estate became increasingly apparent. While the public continued to debate and speculate about the only one name in Diana's will, the reality for her sons was far more meaningful. Her legacy was a guiding force that influenced their decisions, values, and approach to life. Diana's foresight allowed her children to grow up with a sense of security, both financially and emotionally. The trust she established provided them with stability during a period of intense public attention, giving them the freedom to navigate their adolescence and early adulthood without the additional pressures of sudden wealth. More importantly, it preserved a connection to their mother through the personal items she left behind: her letters, jewelry, and keepsakes. These objects became tangible reminders of her love, providing comfort and inspiration as they faced the challenges of life under constant scrutiny. Beyond personal comfort, The principles Diana instilled through her estate continue to shape her sons' public lives. William and Harry have both carried forward her commitment to humanitarian work, empathy, and social awareness, embodying the lessons she valued most. Diana's influence can be seen in their charitable endeavors, the causes they champion, and the thoughtful way they navigate their roles within the royal family and beyond. Her guidance, though indirect after her passing, created a moral and emotional framework that continues to inform their actions to this day. The will also highlighted Diana's understanding of the importance of privacy and discretion. By concentrating her estate on her children, she protected them from unnecessary public exposure while ensuring that her wishes were executed with care and respect. Trusted executors and advisors oversaw the estate, preserving both the financial and emotional integrity of her legacy. Every decision she made reflected a deep awareness of her sons' needs and the pressures they would face growing up in the public eye. Her personal belongings, from iconic dresses to family mementos, became more than sentimental items. They serve as symbols of continuity, memory, and identity for William, Harry, and now the next generation of their families. These items represent a direct link to Diana's presence, her values, and the love she sought to maintain even after her death. Her foresight ensured that her influence would not be fleeting but enduring, touching multiple generations, even decades later. Public fascination with her estate and only one named decision endures, but the true significance lies in the emotional weight and intention behind it. Diana's final act was not about wealth, notoriety, or royal procedure. It was about love, foresight, and ensuring that her sons could carry her spirit forward in their lives. Her will was both a practical and deeply personal document, a mother's final message to the children she cherished above all else. Through her careful planning, Diana achieved something extraordinary. She turned tragedy into a lasting connection. Her children could grow, learn, and lead with her guidance, silently supporting them, her values subtly shaping their choices. In essence, her will became a living extension of her care, providing structure, security, and emotional support that would endure far beyond her years. Princess Diana's story reminds the world that true legacy is not measured by wealth or fame, but by the love, thoughtfulness, and foresight left behind for those who matter most. For William and Harry, her influence continues to resonate, a quiet, unwavering presence that guides their decisions, shapes their values, and keeps her memory alive in every choice they make. Through her estate, her belongings, and her vision, Diana remains a mother to her sons in the truest sense, proving that even in absence, her love endures forever.